Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Now, this is going to be the final video in the tutorial series. I know I already said that, but I decided to add in a couple extra videos just to help you guys out further. And I thought a great way to just end this workshop would be to edit an image fully from start to finish and essentially make a really moody street edit and just show you guys how all of these work and how I would personally go through and use the tools when adjusting an image. So without further ado, I just want to get started here. So we're going to be first cropping our image. Now, I'm not going to be going into detail into all these tools and how they work, as we've already done that in the past videos. So if you see a tool that you're kind of unsure about, just go back through the workshop and watch the full explanation on that tool. There is an explanation on everything we're going to be doing. So now we're just going to be cropping this image about there. Looks pretty good to me. And I think we're gonna warm it up just a little bit because we're gonna be ripping the warmth out of it later to get that kind of moody, like what I want is this card to really pop and then get that kind of moody dark shadow kind of thing going on in here. And then maybe clean up this sidewalk a little bit. It's looking pretty grungy and gross. Maybe a nice vignette and really get the focus on this car, maybe add some sharpening to it and whatnot. So how are we going to do that? What we're going to do is I think we're going to leave the exposure, maybe just bring it up just a tad, and we're going to bring down our highlights because I want to make sure I preserve some of these reflections going on here, and maybe some whites, bring up some whites, crush the blacks just a little bit. I think what I'm going to do here is just adjust our tone curve and just give us a nice S curve to start out with. And maybe just crop the blacks just a tiny bit at the bottom here. Oops, and bring in something that looks pretty contrasty. I want something kind of really punchy and contrasty, something dark. Now at the beginning also, one thing guys, I'm pointing this out, make sure your lines are straight when you're cropping an image. Please guys, please don't do this. It really hurts my eyes when I see this. Like, I guess unless it's a stylized thing and you're doing it on purpose for specific things, it works. But for something like this, just make those buildings straight. So anyways, we're gonna maybe reduce some of our contrast just a little bit, play with our shadows, bring back some detail here, about there, looks good. Texture, increase our texture just a little bit. We're not going to be touching these too much. Now we're going to be doing that vibrance trick that I talked about. We're going to be dragging that up and bringing down the saturation. Looks pretty good about there. About there, it looks cool. Maybe we'll... I think I'm going to try and do that last. We're going to keep that a little bit warmer here. And we're going to come to our Hsl sliders. So we want to make sure this car is red. And we're going to bring down our saturation for these colors. So I know our yellows and whatnot's going to be up here, so we're going to bring those down. And same with these. I don't really want much blue. Something like this. Maybe push these into the back a little bit. And we're going to come back up here. Add a little bit of contrast, maybe. Ooh, yeah, I really want this to kind of come as a white. Maybe we'll add a little bit of blue. I'm thinking a little bit of blue to the shadows. So maybe ever so slightly. We're going to try and put these, make sure these stay as close to the line as possible. Just add a little bit of blue to those shadows there. And maybe we'll counteract it. A little bit of red. Maybe some red to the shadows as well. Or reduce it. Yeah, maybe like, ooh, that's kind of nice. There we go. I kind of like that contrasty blue color that's coming in up here. And we're just going to see... I don't think these sliders, everything but the red. Now this image is mostly driven in the red, and it's kind of cool. Like as you're doing street photography, you'll know, and other photography as well, but it's very apparent in street photography where a large portion of it is kind of, you'll notice a large portion of your colors are within like 2 or 3 channels. Especially if you're in a city like New York, where everything is very like, this was actually taken in Melbourne in Australia, and you'll see like New York probably has the same kind of stone vibe to it, you know, the concrete jungle, as opposed to if you're in a city like Toronto, where it's just like a complete city of glass. You'll notice that you'll have a lot of more blues and aqua tones in it that you'll have to deal with, but for this sake we can leave it like this. Maybe bring this up a little bit. We're going to kill the yellows completely. And color grading. Let's add a little bit. So I'm going to do just a warm, I think I'm going to do a warm cool split. So we're going to add some warmth here to the highlights, like this, and we're going to add some coolness to the shadows. About there, looks kind of cool. Like, I'm really just kind of playing around with it and seeing if we can get some interesting colors going on. But I do kind of like that, but I'm curious if maybe we can bring the blues a little bit down. Oh, there we go. That's kind of cool. And what if we mess with the temperature? No, so for the temperature, if I push it too far to the blue, like I find that I'm losing some of the nice colors in the car, and like here it just looks so much more proper. But I do kind of want to maybe desaturate some of those, which is probably this yellow. Yeah, but there's a lot of it going on in the car, so we're going to keep this about here. And lens correction, remove chromatic aberration. There really isn't much in this photo. Let's just see what we're doing here. So I want these to be a little more white, and I want this to be a little more desaturated. So I'm just playing with some values here and just kind of seeing what they do. There we go. We also have a global setting here within our color grading where we can offset. Okay. It's kind of cool. You can see if you just toggle the color grading what we're kind of doing here. So essentially adding like a global kind of a purpley tone, and then I'll just click on this, and then we've got a little bit of color in each setting here that are kind of just split in, like you see they're split in multiple directions. Now the greens, this sort of like a color here that we got like a between the cyan and the green, it's like a teal kind of color. That's kind of it's doing good because I think it's like affecting as well within the tone curve and giving us this nice kind of shade here. Because if we hit the tone curve, you can see quite a bit of contrast and detail gone. So this here is bringing us in a lot of that moody feel that we got going on. So what we're going to do, I think we're going to add some contrast to this. Sorry, some sharpening, and we're going to use our mask, of course, about there. Bring in some sharpening. Just click in here so I can see. So you can kind of see the difference here. This is just a little blurry. This is a little bit sharpened up on our point of interest. Not going to be doing any of this, none of this. Vignette. So vignette. I would probably do a little bit of a vignette. Now I do want this car to pop a little bit more. So what we're going to do is, actually I'm going to keep that vignette just ever so slightly. Now with vignettes, we already talked about this, very subtle. You don't want them to be harsh like this. Like it just doesn't look good. So keep it subtle. Nice gradient going in. And calibration, we might be able to pop out some color here in the calibration. So as you can see, here it's making it more orange, and here it's making it more pink. So maybe even like that cherry red right about there. And we'll see what the blues are doing here. So the blues are desaturating it quite a little bit. And the greens, so the greens are directly affecting it. And if we saturate it, looks kind of cool. Make that pop, and we can look at the saturation here as well. I think that's kind of cool, so we can toggle that. Now this is actually perfect because this is directly correlating to the car and not so much the colors on the outside, and pretty much allowed me to do exactly what I wanted. But I think it's actually a little bit on the pink side now, maybe about there. So yeah, just toggle it on and off, and I think that's a nicer color, more towards the natural, but a little more saturated. You can really tell it's popping out. So now we're gonna go on to the next thing here. This is like pretty cool for the colors. I'm pretty happy with this. What I'm gonna do now is we're just gonna go into using some of these up here and maybe see if we can direct the light a little bit. Now the vignette did an alright job, but I'm gonna add just an overall pass right here to the middle of our image, kind of like here, and we're gonna up the highlights, contrast. I just kind of want to bring a little bit more of the whites in, especially like kind of here, just to make it pop a little more, but keep it subtle. Oh, clarity, get out of here, clarity. So that was it's still stuck in our skin soft that we just spoke about. So restore default preset. So back to custom, there we go. But it'll keep our value we changed here in the contrast. Look at dehaze. So dehaze is also pretty cool. You can use this on windows. So for example, if I just like draw really quickly on this window, just come in here. Pretty butchered job, but just for the sake of showing you guys really quickly, and you can dehaze it. No. So I guess you can't really dehaze it too much here. Let me see if we did it. Yeah, so it'd work more on this part if you wanted to make it darker, but I guess that highlight is just a little too much for the dehaze to truly be able to do its thing. But this is actually, honestly, I'll just do this anyways, because this is pretty common with car photography. You'll see them like adding a dehaze to the windows just to make them look a little more tinted. So we'll just do that. Again, we'll just toggle this, make sure I got it all. Now, the reason it's doing that is we got auto mask on. Turn that off. Get a nice selection, roughly about there. All these spots. And here, we'll just hold Alt, which will go to our eraser. We could just kind of, oh, Alt has auto mask on as well. Come on, there we go. And then we could just erase. Erase this edge here. Looks pretty good. Bring this back and just kind of come up here. Get a nice, decent selection. So now if we uncheck that and we hit Z again, it's going to take us back, and you can already see the difference right there. Of course, we can toggle this on and off, and you can see what it's doing here, but giving us a nice tint going on in that window. And we actually have a spot. I don't know if you can see it. We actually have a spot right here on the car we got to get rid of. So just, yeah, be careful. Sometimes I notice when you have auto mask on, it'll just randomly, like if you're on an edge, it'll just like miss the edge and just select like a little bit on the side here. Just kind of like the tool kind of like brain farts, but it is what it is. You just kind of work around it. So push and pull using that Alt tool to go back to your eraser. But this looks pretty cool, honestly. Like we've gone, let's see, we were in the brush here, so we'll just turn that off. Hit Y on our keyboard, so before and after, I think it already looks really cool, really moody. So now I'm gonna go in and just clean this up because it's rather dirty. So we're just gonna go here, get rid of some of these cigarettes and stuff. Oh, it's tripping out, there we go. And we're gonna be using our spot removal. Make a small brush, and basically just brush out any of these distractions, as you might call them. So this is pretty slow right now. What I'm going to do, just turn my computer to go to performance mode. So hopefully it'll go a little faster for you guys. There we go. Hopefully the fans aren't too loud. And we're just going to be moving around and just kind of getting rid of these areas. Alright, this one here. What I'm actually going to do here is just close out of Photoshop. Okay. And here as well. Now it's going a little bit faster, I think. Yeah. Line this guy up. And that looks pretty good. I definitely normally go in, like, get rid of all of this kind of like weirdness. Yeah, because it's doing some weird stuff right now. So you'll notice, I guess, when your computer gets slow as you add more adjustments. Now I'm not sure why it's this slow, but you'll like do something here, and if you unclick and drag your mouse, it'll still register as a click. So you kind of just gotta leave your mouse where it is, let it think. And go here. See, this one didn't even grab everything that I wanted it to grab. So this is a little bit painful right now. I'm sorry, guys. What I'm going to do is go through and do all this and then maybe speed it up a little bit so you don't have to sit here and watch me struggle with this lag. It can't having trouble recording at the same time. So I'm going to do that. Alright, and we are back. Okay, so as you can see, took me a while to get over that. Actually, there's even stuff like this, like these small things here I get rid of, because I know these are reflections, but even though they're reflections, they kind of look like imperfections in the car. So if you're doing car photography, I definitely recommend going through and just getting rid of all of these. And then you can take it, of course you can take this photo a step further, and we're just gonna get out of this. So pretty much what I'd call done for now, at least the Lightroom part. You can of course take this a step further, take it into Photoshop. You can even turn these lights on in Photoshop using a couple techniques and edit it further. But that's pretty much it for now. Looks pretty cool result. What I'm gonna do is give you guys this preset. So we'll save this out right now. We'll call this LR_ workshop car. And check all. And we're going to remove our grain, and we're going to remove our exposure as we talked before, and our lens correction because we don't really need that. And we'll hit create. So you've got that here. So I'll give you these two presets to download so you guys can check them out. So here's actually what the other one looks like. It looks pretty cool as well. And we've got our car, so you can go in and make your own adjustments as needed. I think even some tint would look kind of cool. Ooh. Looks kind of cool with a little bit of tint as well. I'm actually going to, I kind of like that, so I'm just going to update this. Cool. So guys, that is pretty much it. Here is the before and after, a nice moody edit for your images. Basically just showing you guys some real world examples of stuff here that you might want. Lastly, actually, you know what we can even do, this will either look good or it will look bad. We're gonna see. We're gonna grab a gradient, we're gonna go like this, and we're gonna go like super low on the clarity. This is actually kind of a technique here. We're gonna go low on the clarity, and we're gonna go to our brush, and we're gonna erase. We want to erase what's going on, what's hitting this car here, because we don't want clarity to be affecting our car. There we go. Now this kind of adds, like, you can already see it adds like that that dreamy look to the back. So little tip there for those who stuck through this entire 20-minute video. If you make a little gradient mask and just add it to like the top part where like there's light coming down, this works really good with light. Just reduce the clarity and it just adds this kind of whimsical feel to the back. And you can kind of see what it looks like here. If I just click on this, show it off, you can kind of see the difference real quick. Looks from that to that. Cool. So guys, that is it for this video and essentially the end of the workshop. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I have some other tutorials on my page. You feel free to check those out if you're looking to learn things like Photoshop or a more in-depth editing tutorial on how I personally edit my photos for my Instagram feed. So with that said, that is everything, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.